much.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll start again by saying that I've got some supplies here. I've got my fine line. I've got my gouache. I should have a credit card. I want to scrape a little bit. Here's some salt. I've got a sponge. I'm going to spatter. So I've got a toothbrush. I do have one of those stipple brushes. And for the one technique that we saw for rubbing out the shapes of the dandelions or maybe the soft white flowers in Linda's paint or photo, this would be a good
See,
one.
they're also called stencil brushes.
Oh, a stencil brush, that's what it is, yeah. And then I'll use my rigger. I've got my rigger. And let's see what else. I have the brush that has the angle on the end. It's this one. And I have a fan brush. So I think I've got plenty of supplies, things to use. And to get started, I will do something where I do a little bit with my masking fluid. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking what I really like about it, and I'm making a horizontal instead of a vertical. Even though these are verticals, I want to have a field of flowers, so I'm making it a horizontal. And I like the, it's almost like calligraphy that I see in these two photos. The stems create a movement. And so what I want to do when I do this painting is to create a little bit of that illusion. So I'm going to be just a little bit free and loose with that and do some lines and some dots and, you know, have some fun with this. Not be too tight with it. I'm just going to kind of play with this and let it create some wonderful shapes. Maybe some little dots up here and there. I don't want them to be too evenly spaced. Okay. And as you know, some of this comes out in little blobs, which would take a while to dry. So in order to speed that up, I'm going to blot it a little bit with a paper towel because the shape isn't that critical with what I'm planning to do. So I'm just going to come back in now and try to blot up a little bit of that. It would just take too long to dry otherwise. Is that a flushing toilet? It kind of sounds like it.
Yeah.
I'm glad the video isn't on. Okay. I think I'll start. Let's see if it's still kind of wet. So maybe what I'll do is start by mixing a few colors here. I'm going to make it a blue sky, even though there's a lake behind the Scotland image. I like the idea of the blue at the top. So I'm going to start by just getting some blue ready here. The other thing I did not mention, but this is from the other class, is if you have candle, like a white candle, you could also do a little bit of masking or frisketing with a white candle.
How?
Oh, just kind of drag it across, you know. If you have a birthday cake candle, you just drag it across the surface and it'll leave a few little, maybe I should go get one right now. Let me go get one and I'll show you.
But
important to know you can't remove it. You can't.
Yeah, you
paint
can't
for those.
remove it from where you put it, so
Yeah.
that's the thing. But I'm going to go get one and I'll just use it too.
Cool.
It'll take me a minute to do that.
I'm thinking now of substances that are like that. Does like honeycomb work?
I would think it would. Anything waxy that would, stay on the paper. Create a resist.
But it's not.
That would leave a
Yellow color.
tinted. Yeah, that would be somewhat tinted maybe. If it's very fresh honeycomb, it'll be white or yellow, light yellow. And then
They
darker
also
honeycomb
sell-
goes for dark.
They sell bleached honeycomb too. I mean, bleached beeswax that's white.
Yeah, they do. I
But if
think it
you're
also
buying
depends
it,
on
if
what
you're
kind
going to
of
buy
effect you would
if you're
want. You
buying
could-
wax, cheaper to use a paraffin block or a candle than to use beeswax.
Well,
You
guess
could
what?
use a birthday candle and use it like a drawing implement, to create lines, or you could turn it flat and just create like a textural effect with it.
So the only candle I found in my drawer was a blue candle. But I figure, okay, why don't I just see what happens if I use a blue candle? Why not, huh? I see some
Right.
blue flowers, and so I'm going to just see what happens here.
This is the experimental unit of our class.
Yeah, it's supposed to be next week or 2 weeks from now.
Never mind.
Oh,
You can
well.
also use a crayon, like the candle, a crayon works, but it leaves the
Okay.
color.
Okay, now let's see. The question now is, should I wet the paper first or not? Anybody have a preference? Okay, I'm just going to start then without wetting the paper first.
Which blue are you using, Sylvia?
Cobalt.
Cobalt. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I do like about the reference photos, the one that has the poppies, so I'm going to add a few more. I'm getting a little darker with my blue because I know it's going to dry lighter, and I don't want it to be the same blue everywhere, so I want to make it a little darker on one side. And now, while it's still wet, I want some soft flowers that would be sort of in the background. So I'm going to look for a color that I think would be good for the feeling of poppies, but I want the lighter ones that are sort of pinkish because they're farther away, with a little bit of yellow, Aurelian yellow and opera. I'm mixing a little bit of a pink tone, and I'm going to put those in the distance. And a little bit more orange in here too.
Is your cobalt, and I forgot the other color.
cobalt for the blue, and then I'm using opera and Aurelian yellow for the
Okay, but that
poppies.
is straight cobalt,
Hmm?
straight cobalt blue. It's
Yeah, that was
pure.
just straight cobalt blue.
Did you wet the sky first?
No, no, I didn't. And now I'm going to start by, I think I'll put in some yellows, yellow being the lighter valued pigment and also Aurelian being transparent. I'm going to start putting in some of these yellows that I see, and I'm going to spread them throughout. I want to get this movement that goes kind of like this in this painting, so I'm keeping that in mind as I drop the color in. And I love these.
It looks like snow.
Snow, yeah. And now I want to put in some violets too. Even though it's a little early to be doing that, I'm afraid if I don't do something like that. Now I'm mixing a little cobalt with my opera. Figure if I don't get something in there, I might get a little sidetracked. So I want to put some of these violets in here too in places.
Don't eat the Aurelian snow.
Yeah. And this is cobalt. I'm coming back in with some of that. And now I want to vary my violet by using a little ultramarine with opera to get a little bit of a different violet. As the flowers get into the middle ground, they become a little bit more pink or more of a reddish violet. That's a little bit of the opposite of what we usually think. We usually think of the middle ground or the foreground being brighter, but this is the way it is in this photo. So, and I kind of like that effect. So it's still fairly light and I want to get some darks in there. So I'm going to come in now just for fun. I'm going to spatter some darks in here. This is a combination of, I think it's Prussian blue and violet. It was from a other class that I was teaching. Happened to be on my palette. Okay, I want to come in now with, I love this kind of a sage green, and to mix that, I don't have the color that we were talking about on my palette right now. Didn't want to take the time to look for it, so I'm getting my cerulean, or no, my manganese blue, and then I'm going to mix it with, let's see what would mix with that to get that kind of a color. A tiny bit of burnt sienna. Okay, and let's see how that goes. Yeah, it's a pretty good color. So I'm going to just kind of Come back in with some strokes to make it look like grasses. I'll move this over so you can see what I'm mixing a little bit better. I'm going back in here with some darks now, and I'm going to mix a little bit more of my Prussian blue with some of the violet.
Where is the place where you put the blue birthday candle?
Oh, I see it right in here. There's where I put some of these blues and violets. I can see the outline showing through. I'm getting some darker darks in here now. Whoops, I almost started to mix it right on my paper. Okay, I wanted to get a few darks in here because I want to start to do some things like spattering some salt on, and in order for it to show anything, I need to have a dark in there for it to create the effect.
Looks like your paper getting wetter and wetter, but you started out high.
Yeah, although I'm doing little daubs of color, it's not wet all over. It's you know, I've got little puddles of darker tones here and there. It's really very abstract, isn't it?
Yeah, nice though. I like. It was interesting to me how when you added violet with the Prussian blue, how it changed into a kind of a neutral gray,
It did, yeah.
which I like because that's kind of safe working. You know,
Right.
those grays you can always play off pure color on them.
So now I sprinkled some salt on. I wanted to try the effect of scraping back in while there's still some wetness, so I'm not sure. I might have to add, maybe I'll add a few greens because I don't have that many greens in here. Sort of a middle value green, and let's see, what am I going to mix with that? I have a little sap green with some cobalt. And I need a few darker darks again, some spattering. Okay. Now, a couple of things that they talked about was that if you scratch into something while it's really wet, what'll happen is it's going to make some darker lines. So I'm going to scratch into this right now. I know it's really, let's see if I can get closer with the camera. It's really wet. Whoops. Yeah, it's really wet. Let's see if I can hold it.
And what tool are you using, Sylvia? What tool?
It's the angled end of my brush. I got to move this up a little bit here.
He has a special brush that has a chisel end.
Yeah, see, it's got this chisel end. So if I go and make a mark with it, whoops, maybe that's not working there. It works here. See how it makes a darker line? Because it incisors the paper, and then where it incisors the paper, the paint will run into that line
You
and
could
make it
probably
darker.
use a palette knife, couldn't you?
Probably. I don't even have one because I don't paint with oil paint or acrylic, so I don't have a palette knife.
I mainly use mine to take the top page off my blocks.
Oh, okay. Now I'm going to go up into some of these areas too. Remember what he was saying too, you can use the end of your brush to drag from wet paint to make grasses.
Yeah.
So you can come back in if you've got some wet paint there, and you can start to drag it. Okay, so at this point I have kind of a messy palette, but I like it. What I'm seeing that I need to do though is when I look at the colors, I feel like this right in here needs something. And I do want to try the effect where I lift off some of the color for those little white flowers in Linda's photo. But I didn't use the thicker paint like what was done in the video we watched, so I'm not sure how the effect will be. So for now, I'm just going to start to add a few more things in here. And in places where I feel like it needs a little bit more, visual interest, I guess I would say. And I'm looking at places where I think I need a little bit of a darker accent here and there.
I want a dress out of that. Pretty.
The
Yeah,
what?
it's really,
I want to make a dress out
Oh,
of print on fabric.
have you ever taken a fabric, like a design class where you actually make some fabric? That's really fun. You know, design your own pattern.
Where
Not,
can you do?
you know, like silk screening and that kind of thing. I did
I
went to
know,
Cal State Northridge and I took some classes like that there.
I know somebody that does it. She creates the images from photos and treats them on her computer with different effects and then has them printed out on fabric.
Oh yeah,
Actually,
see, when I did it, it was way before the computer.
mm.
Okay, now I think it's time to create a little bit more of the illusion of some of the shapes of the petals on some of these flowers. So like with some of these yellow flowers, they have little orange centers. So I'm going to try to come back in and define some of those shapes and then try to work with making them look more like some of those flowers. And I want to bring a little more of the orange, the poppy color in, the brighter. So I'm mixing some, I think that's my cat orange and opera together. Now to negative space painting, a little bit of that up in here where I see I have some of these yellow flowers, so I'm going around the shapes of the petals with some green. I think I'll get my rigger brush instead.
Do rigger brushes come in sizes? And I don't have one. What size would you recommend?
I don't know. Mine says a 0 on it, so I guess they do.
Is a rigger the same as a script brush or is that different?
I use the term interchangeably, but I'm not as much of an expert as some people on that.
No, a
Any-
rigger is it's a very thin, long-haired type brush for straight lines. And I think mine is a size 3 or 4, but you can get different sizes and try them depending on how thin you want your line to be, the liner brush. It's not a scrubber.
So how does that differ from a script brush?
You're right. I'm sorry. I thought you said scrubber, a script brush. You're right. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, I've
Sorry,
heard the
I'm a little
term.
out of it today. I have a pinched nerve in my neck and in my shoulder, and I'm kind of out of it. So I'm
Oh,
sorry.
oh no,
No
that's kind of
worries.
So I'm not on the
miserable.
camera. I'm laying on bed.
Oh gosh.
I'm on bed too. I got a hip problem, so.
And I
But I
have a
think
knee
script.
problem.
Oh God.
Ain't getting old, Grand.
And I'm
I'm
Oh
falling
fighting a
God.
back
apart.
problem and a shoulder problem.
Oh dear.
My 95-year-old friend said, getting old ain't for sissies.
That's right.
Well, I don't know about you all, but I know I've been hanging around home a lot more, and I think that my body is feeling it. I'm really not. I'm still active, but I'm not getting out there and getting as much exercise as I used to.
We're not going to recognize each other when it's over.
Oh no.
That's my fantasy. I feel like I've aged at least 10 years in the last 6 months.
Oh no.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think about those things.
There
Well,
are some Pilates or Zoom classes that are online that don't cost a whole lot. And I think I even have free ones through Adult Ed. I haven't taken, but I certainly thought about it myself to get some stretching in.
it doesn't, just walking and doing yoga isn't making it for me. Because I do yoga at home and I walk, but it's just, my muscles. When your muscles go, then your bones don't have what they need to support you. And then everything just, you just watch it go. It's amazing. But it's time.
Okay.
Well, I think we need to turn the topic back to the difference between script liners and.
I was going to say, you know what? This is supposed to be a happy time.
Yeah.
It is. There's more color now. Look at all the color.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
does make.
All right. I have a huge amount of texture here. And one of the things I want to do is create some soft edges. I have some soft edges in the distance, but not closer up. And so what I want to do now, it's still a little bit damp in places, but I want to take this, what did you call that brush? It's the one that's for
Rigger, script,
scrubber, or wait, with this one, what'd you call that?
oh, stencil.
Stencil brush. So I want to take the stencil brush and see if I can make some of those soft, kind of puffy looking flowers.
Circles.
Yeah, so I'm going to use that and kind of come through out here and see if I can soften a few places because those flowers are so pretty.
I have stencil brushes and I didn't think I'd have a use for them in this class, but it's nice to see.
Oh, I think we'll find a use for just about everything. And next time we get together, don't forget your saran wrap.
And your birthday candles.
Right.
Whose birthday is it?
For resist.
I've started keeping a wad of sun wrap scrunched up with my paint brushes.
Oh, good.
Hey,
Oh,
I
yeah.
use shrink wrap plastic. That would probably work too, because I always have leftovers.
Oh, yeah. Now I've got this brush and I thought, oh, it's got kind of a neat texture. So I'm going to just see what happens if I do come back in with it in places, you know, like dab it in a few places.
Yeah. I think I remember in the video, he was saying he kind of rotated it kind of vigorously, even disturbing the paper.
Oh, when he was
Not that you
lifting,
want
when she was lifting.
it.
Yeah,
Was it a he or she? I
It was a
forget.
she.
Okay.
It was
yeah.
the English lady, British.
It was her tissue that she was rotating, I thought.
She rotated the stencil brush, I remember.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
I just remember she was disturbing the fibers of the paper. So it was kind of a vigorous treatment.
yeah.
Not that you have to do that, but just what I
Yeah.
remember.
I don't have as much pigment on my paper as she did either. You know, she had,
Yeah.
A lot.
yeah. I don't tend to work with as much pigment as some people do. All right, what I'm looking at now is, it looks to me like I still have quite a bit of wetness and I'm wanting to rub it off because I'm getting anxious to finish. So at this point, I can't really do that. So I'll come back in and make a few lines with my brush here to create a little bit more, maybe in the distance, the look of some grasses back here. Subtle, not really real dark. Now I'll get a little darker. And I think I need some spots, little dots of spots of things here and there too, even though it looks like I've got a lot. I want to see a few more. So I'll spatter.
Sounds like Dr. Seuss, spots and dots.
Oh yeah. All right, now I've got a dark here.
Whoa.
I know that's making some big spatters.
Oh,
I
look
think
at
it needed it. I think it
Yeah,
needed it.
I do too. It needed some contrast.
contrast. Yeah.
Ah,
Fun.
I can't wait to get that, to peel the masking off. But I better.
What did you
Okay.
say, Michelle?
I forgot if there was masking. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm noticing here is, see these hard angles I have here, these hard edges? I need to soften that. So I'm going to try to create some of these little softer, wish I had a smaller one of these brushes. Maybe my scrubber brush. I want to lift a little bit up here. To kind of take away from that edge.
Is that hurting the paper?
Well, it probably isn't doing it a lot of good, but I'm not going to paint on top of it that much, so it doesn't matter that much. But if I were going to do more painting on top of it, I'd have to be more concerned.
So I got some scrubber brushes from Jerry's Artorama, and they're not slanted. I didn't see any slanted ones there. They're all flat, square.
Oh, no angles like this?
No.
Huh.
So I
Well,
got a set of just regular ones that were highly rated.
yeah, I don't know.
Trish McAvoy makes one. I have it for doing eyeliner.
Oh,
Looks exactly like that.
okay. I don't really want to work with gouache before everything's dry, but I'm just debating on what I'd have to do here to. I don't want to get a hair dryer because it's got the masking fluid on it, so I'll just go ahead and come back in and do some gouache. No, if I did, it will mess up when I rub off the Frisca, right?
Yeah.
So I
Just let it dry and then we can see it next time, and then you can finish it.
maybe so. I did work on the dahlia last time and sent you a video of the second half. Did you see that?
Yep.
So maybe I'll do that because that way I'll be happier with it. But this was fun. I think it'll be fun to take off the frisket. And then what I'll do is I'll come back in with some gouache and I'll start to add a few things, but also clean up a few edges, and that'll be it. Any questions or comments?
I love it.
It's
Yeah,
looking
it's really
okay so
spontaneous.
far. Yeah. It's
I
funny,
think
isn't
I
it?
see a couple,
Pardon?
I think I see a couple of Easter bunnies hiding in the thicket there.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I could put one in here.
That's just me.
Where's my scrubber brush? I
Or
could
just
have
a
one.
tail sticking out.
Yeah, hiding in there. Yeah, thank you so much for giving us all those wonderful photos, everybody. That's just great. And I have put them all in the canvas also. In fact, let's take a look at them right now because they're really beautiful and I would like to share those. I guess I have them on a folder here. So I'm going to stop the video